What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Inside Perspective, where we teach, learn, and grow. That's a tagline. One that I'm sure will change, because change is a big part of life. And even whenever it comes to the tagline or introduction or whatever it is of this show, I really try to tell myself it needs to be this for right now. And then I'll try to perfect it to combine with I'll try to make it work with any other intro episode that I'm doing, but sometimes it doesn't. And so I say all that to say change is a very big part of our lives. And sometimes it's difficult to have change. I mean, we're habitual creatures. So whenever we're used to doing something over and over and over and over again, and then all of a sudden that shit changes, to me for a second, it feels like disrespect. It feels like disrespect at first. But I had to unpack that and really ask myself, why am I taking it personally? For instance, I live with my parents, live with my family still. And recently they have graciously been letting me stay here, right? But it's my childhood home, so it's not any whom's. Recently, my family, my parents have decided that myself and my sibling will be taking up more of a financial responsibility for the home, which isn't a problem. I'm not upset about that at all. That's fine. But when my mother decided to tell me about it, she texted me. And at first I looked at my phone y'all know whenever y'all mom be on you, she'll ask you 15, 11 different questions, and then she'll top it off with a couple tasks that you need to do. So it was one of those moments. And so me already being on guard, because I see there's these plethora of messages coming in, right? Have you done this? Did you call this? Have you checked that? And it's yes, mother, I have. Thank you for the friendly reminder, forcing this smile. And so all that was happening, coming in, and then she was asking me about other stuff. And then the last one was, oh yeah, and you'll be paying for X, Y, and Z moving forward. And so little me was no, this bitch didn't. Mom, if you listen, I promise you, I was just mad at the time. But I was okay, all this change happening right now. So I'm okay. And for me, having anxiety, things changing, especially with money, because I'm still a little uncomfortable with money, and learning how to use my money. Whenever things are changing in terms of that, it really throws me off my rocker. And so instead of me responding out of pocket to my mom, she didn't do anything necessarily wrong. If anything, she honored one of my requests of not calling me about changes and certain abrupt changes, especially whenever I'm you don't know where I'm at, what I'm doing, what's going on in my present moment. I asked that she would send me a text, but I did not know that she was going to send me a bill via text. Did not know she was going to send me a bill via text, but that's okay. I'm not upset about that. It is more so me acknowledging the change that threw me completely off for a second. And then I was wait a second, I don't have to be blown from this. I don't have to be upset about this. What I need to do now is plan. So first thing I did was go to Google Sheets. They have this already pre-made monthly budget and annual budget. And I was using a monthly budget last year, mostly whenever I had first started working, because I wanted to make sure I was learning how to manage my money right. The current job that I have now is the first job that I've had for longer than a summer. And so I wanted to make sure I was managing my funds correctly. And so now I stepped away from it for a minute, mostly whenever November, December came around, because it was time for gifts, and I get gifts. I give gifts. But I went to the budget, and I was okay, I got this. Let me just calm down, figure out my money. I have money. Money is abundant. I am abundant. Money abundantly flows through my life. Like, I just had to affirm myself and calm myself down so much because I seen how quickly that abrupt change was about to really just fuck up my whole mood, truthfully. But there was no need for it to. Change happens. We adapt. That Darwinism, like over time, I'm a science nerd. Y'all know that. So it's like over time, things change. And so animals have to adapt. I think it's Darwinism or survival of the fittest. But yeah, as things grow and change, we have to adapt. And so that was my moment of experiencing abrupt change and adapting in a more positive light, because I promise you, Lee, 1 or 2 years ago, I might have actually teed up, truthfully. Like, I might have been like real pissed, like, how dare she, and da. Well, and truthfully, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Contribute. You know what I'm saying? Like, I paid attention to the fact that I don't have to pay rent to live in my mother's house. And I also told them that I wasn't paying rent in my childhood home, because if I grew up in this room, I promise you I'm not giving you $1 to live in it. However, I can participate when it comes to bills, water, heat, electric, absolutely. But paying for a room, I'm not at school. No, baby, we're not doing that. But hopefully whenever that conversation does arise, it goes like that. If not, we're going to have an episode about how to move out. But to segue into something else that I've been wanting to talk about is relationships. And I already kind of mentioned with my ear is popping so bad. And I know it's only doing this because I just woke up and it's in the morning, but I needed to stop. Apologies, friends. But yeah, I wanted to talk about relationships. And so previously I had just mentioned about animals adapting and how in order to survive, they adapted. But whenever it comes to relationships, there are, I think, 4 or 5 types of relationships in nature. Them being mutualism, which is when 2 organisms are together and they benefit mutually from each other. So, an example. It's kind of early for me to turn my brain on like that, y'all. Mutualism. I think, let's say one of the birds that be on the back of like an ox or something. Or maybe that's not it. I'm trying to think. Let me go double check myself, y'all, before I get on here and get to lying. Pull out the good old Google. What is mutualism? Yeah, I was right. Gotta trust yourself. So mutualism, a symbiotic relationship where both organisms benefit. Let's see if we can find an example of a mutualistic relationship. Wow. So I was right again. One example of a mutualistic relationship is that of an oxpecker, which is a kind of bird, and a rhino or a zebra. So they land on the backs of a rhino or a zebra and eat the ticks and other parasites that live off their skin. So the bird gets the food, and then the rhino and zebra no longer have parasites on their skin. And so that's a mutualistic relationship. Now, since I already had mentioned it, the next type of relationship in nature is parasitism. And some people will refer to babies as parasites because they're living in their host, their mom. But I'm not saying babies are parasites. It's just an example, I swear. But not all times in a parasitic relationship does one of the animals die. You could think of a leech, I guess. A parasite on the body, taken from the body. The host is not benefiting, but the parasite is. The next type of relationship is commensalism, and it happens when one species lives with, on, or in another species. So it made me think of Nemo whenever they catch the ride on the turtle's back. Like, that's commensalism. That's helping out. You know, that's I forget his name, the sea turtle's name, but that's a commensalistic relationship. Is that a word? Anywho, the next one is symbiosis. And so it's a close relationship between two organisms of different species in which at least one of the organisms benefit. Let's find an example. That's cute. Y'all ever see them dodo videos whenever it's like a duck and a dog is best friends? And some shit like that. I wonder if there's any more. Now me wanting to learn. I mean, there's nothing wrong with learning, but I am in the middle of an episode and I'm over here getting caught up reading different types of symbiotic relationships. Symbiotic relationships. Okay. Oh, so I done learned something new. So symbiosis, basically, as we had mentioned before, between two or more different biological species. This relationship can be symbiotic, mutualistic, where both parties involved benefit from the interaction, or it can be parasitic when one party benefits while the other is harmed. Some of y'all be in symbiosis relationships. Some of y'all be in symbiotic relationships, but it's okay. I'm gonna get there. I got one more left to talk about, and then we're gonna get into why I mentioned these relationships, these types of relationships in nature. So the last one is predation. Lion and the lamb, lion and the zebra, lion and the alpaca. I mean, I don't even know if alpacas is where lions are, but nonetheless, predation is whenever one animal is a predator and can consume the tissues of another species. They finna kill your ass. So, with this in mind, with this knowledge now understood about the types of relationships in nature, what are the type of relationships you hold in your life? I am a big proponent of like understanding science, nature, and biology, and seeing quite literally the positive symbiosis and the equilibrium of what happens in our in nature, and within our bodies, within science, within cellular function, could be replicated in life for better understanding. And so that's why I ran through the types of relationships there are in nature, because there are types of relationships that y'all are holding in person that are terrible for you. It may come across like the one that's symbiosis, and it's like, oh, but like I'm benefiting and they're benefiting. Are you truly benefiting? Because as we already just learned, there's a positive and negative aspect of symbiosis. Whenever you're in a relationship with a friend, because this can be romantic relationship, it could be friendships, it could be mentors, it could be anything. There's literally any type of relationship or connection that you hold. How are you defining it? What type of relationships do you want to hold? Do you want to be a parasite to other people? And if so, why? I'm not finna sit here and tell you you're a bad person because you want to be a parasite. I mean, you're not the greatest, but I more so want to focus on why you want to be that type of person in a relationship. Why are you taking from this person? Whether it's an ex-partner, ex-friend, current partner, current friend, like a parent. I really encourage like to analyze all the relationships. I went through a point in my life where I analyzed a lot of the relationships that I was in. I think I talked about it on an episode, maybe not, maybe, but I was reading Jay Shetty's book called Think Like a Monk, and in it he had like a relationship appraisal sheet type template that you can use, and there's a name the person that you've been with, the amount of hours you spend with them a week, and then some of the characteristics as to who they are, and over top of that, like in the beginning, you talk about who you want to be and where you're going, and then that's when you break down the type of people and relationships that you're in, right? And so it showed that he said like do it, the book said do it for like a week or two, I believe, and see who you're spending your time with and who they are, And then think about, again, remind yourself again, who do you want to be? So if you're hanging out with somebody who continuously has parasitic or predation relationships with others, what do you think they're doing to you? It may not be intentionally. Like I said, we're habitual creatures. It may not be intentionally, but it's still happening. So then you bring up a conversation with your friend. I'm not the person to, just cancel you and not communicate. Like, it's childish. But what we can do, what we will do, is have a healthy conversation about it. And if I feel like it's starting to get too heated, then I'm gonna tap out. Because I realized at this point in my life, I don't want loud, rude, ignorant, unsafe conversations anymore. Sometimes when you're in the middle of them, you think if you keep going, you'll reach the resolution, and if you scream loud enough, it'll sink through their thick ass skull. But truthfully, it takes so much out of me, and that could be true. Maybe, I need to buck up on you for you to get it. But for me, that takes so much energy out of my soul. I don't like the way I feel after that. I don't. So I don't have them. We can come back and finish this conversation whenever your tone is better. Is one of my direct go-tos. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I don't like it. And it makes me feel like I need to defend myself or run. And why do I need to feel the need to do that within this conversation when I'm trying to talk about how I feel in our relationship? Conversations about relationships and how you feel like you're not getting more or less or whatever it is isn't only reserved for romantic relationships. It's for friendships. It's for mentorships. It's for a relationship with your parents. They're tough conversations, but humanity, like you need relationships with humans in order to have humanity. And you want to maintain positive relationships with people. And people who aren't at that space yet, where they're ready and willing to have the tough conversations, to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to admit their faults, being accountable. If they're not ready to do that yet, and you're trying to have the healthy conversation, it may not go over that well. And so you may need to remove yourself from that connection for a moment. Share your feelings. Share what you need to say. Be who you are. Not who you think you have to be in order to communicate with somebody. It's not going to go over well for you because you're sacrificing yourself. While the parasite is doing exactly what it's supposed to. Draining everything of you are. And then look at you. You're not dying from it, but you're damn sure feeling it. Look, man, maintaining relationships are hard. Romantic ones, platonic ones, familial ones. It can be difficult. It has difficult moments, but then let's not negate the fact that beautiful, beautiful connections. We have beautiful, beautiful connections in life that inspire us to be better, to do better, to educate, to share, to become more patient, to inspire others. There's relationships like that out there too. And sometimes they got to go through a parasite phase. And as your friend, check them. But it's not your responsibility to teach them. That's something they have to learn on their own. You can provide examples. Be the example. Shit. But there's things that people have to learn on their own. You got to leave them where they're at until they're willing to do the necessary work to be on your level. Like, and I used to not like saying like, you're not on my level, you're not this, you're not that, because growing up, like, especially in middle school fucking sucked, but especially in middle school, like, it was always this hierarchy thing. And I don't like to believe that, I don't believe that I'm better than anybody else. But I do believe that I have more experience and knowledge in certain areas than others. And so that may put me up a couple levels in that situation. But that doesn't mean that I'm a better overall human. That just even sounds weird coming out my mouth. But sometimes you have to leave people where they're at in order for them to learn. You have to keep growing and keep being yourself. Just like I said in the episode before, love them from the balcony. That doesn't mean you have to bad talk them. That doesn't mean you have to put them down or break their spirit. Like, you don't have to do that. You could just say, dead ass, I love you, but I love me more. And where you're at in your life right now isn't something that I want a part of mine. I mean, figure out whatever way you want to say it. But at the end of the day, it's best to articulate yourself in the best way that you know how, in the healthiest way you know how, so that whenever it's time to potentially revisit that relationship again, you know that you left it on your best foot. Fuck how they're acting. They're a parasite, potentially, to go with the analogy. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. They're going to do what they've been doing. But you got to know that you're a good person. You're an educated person. You're a growing person. You're a healing person. And there are certain things that you are no longer accepting in your life. You got to decide that for you. And it doesn't happen overnight. Shit, I'm still working on it. Every now and again, I catch myself ready to stoop down to somebody's level and tee up on them and talk bad. Hurt their feelings and all. Be like, oh, I got something for that ass. But then I'd be like, but who do I want to be? How do I want to love? How do I want to show love? How do I want to show patience? And the rah-rah shit ain't me. And if I ever allow myself to get to that point, I want it to be on my own accord. I don't want anybody to ever have to pull me out. I don't want anybody to ever think that they pull me out of my peace. I really enjoy the fact that I have control over my body, over my mind, over my mouth. Many times, even shit at work could talk bad to somebody, but then I just realized I am love. And whatever this person is battling has nothing to do with me. I'm going to continue being a beautiful, intelligent Black woman and go about my day and send them some good energy. Think about the relationships you're in. If you need some help trying to figure it out, use the example that Jay Shetty from his book Think Like a Monk, I think called like the friendship audit. Who knows? My mind comes up with a lot of different names for people's stuff. But make the chart, make the table. Maybe I'll post it on my Instagram or I'll upload it to my website. But I don't want to get copyrighted by bro. So we'll have to make it. Either way, maybe I'll just link it. Shit. See the type of friends that you're spending your time with. Look at the type of relationship you share with them. And then decide what you want to do moving forward. Because you are in control of your life and who you want to be and who you want to be around and where, when, what the fuck, why you want to be around them. You have power. I have power. Say that shit. I have power. Use it. Until next time, friends.